It is Friday, September 21st, heading into the third weekend. No, I guess this would be the fourth weekend in September. Check my calendar. But a few things going on here at TG. I'll run down kind of quickly everything that came out for our target members. But also want to get to a couple of questions that have been floating around on the forum. Really, they're kind of one and the same. They're sort of tied together about lead playing and outlining chords and stuff like that. So if I forget, remind me to get to that. So what we had this week, we had a couple of cool fly on the wall lessons. With Fred working on Norwegian wood, and that was why I ran through the little country blues thing. We're winding down the end of Beaker's set of lessons from earlier in the spring, well, earlier this year in the spring. And we got talking about Kelly Joe Phelps and stuff that was just a country blues kind of thing in there. And I think by the time he left, I think he could figure it out, and that was kind of a cool thing. We also, let's see, there was a student review on Wish You Were Here. That I'm sure a lot of people out there have been working on. One of my favorite songs to have people play. Got to count carefully, got to have good control of the pick. Great tune. So if you haven't tried Wish You Were Here, be sure to look it up. And then a couple of interesting lessons. Oh, uh-oh. Let's see. Far Away, Nickelback. It was something like that. But it was done in drop D tuning, as a lot of their stuff is. So I'm glad to see the general positive response to the Nickelback tunes. They are definitely, they've got a distinctive sound, and it's kind of cool that our guitar players are liking them. And then we got into Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire. Interesting tune that, well, in the lesson I talk about some of the oddities of it. We also had welcome back Keith Holland, my favorite luthier, repair guy, builds custom guitars, and that's what we had this week, was a couple of episodes with him talking about the guitars he builds and just kind of custom guitars in general. So I hope you guys got a chance to check that out, which reminded me of something else that happened last Friday that I forgot about. As I'm shooting this, I'm waiting for the space shuttle to be flying around here in Northern California. So if we get interrupted by loud engines, I don't know how close they're coming here to Los Gatos, but it's on a farewell tour of California today. And anyway, where was I going? I was going to talk about Chicago. No, I was going to talk about the Mermer triple neck. All of a sudden, well, I saw a few weeks ago I mentioned that, and we saw Chris Squire with his triple neck bass. And but then over at Guitar Showcase, they've got this unusual guitar, the Mermer triple neck. So that, I don't know, one neck is enough for me, I think. But definitely an oddity and cool piece of things. And then we had one more thing. Welcome back to the listening post, Steve. Steve put together an article on a guitar player probably most of you are not familiar with, Little Axe. But it's a great story, and so I hope you guys have a chance to check out Steve's blog, The Listening Post. And okay, now let me get to what were you going to remind me of? Outlining chords and how pentatonic scales are tied to shapes and stuff like that. As I'm sure many of you know, I put together a lesson on using triad shape, using 3-string shapes on the top strings to play as kind of a foundation for lead playing. So if chord progression was going, let's say, from G to C to D and back to G, you could use the mini shapes, and between the three of them, the E, A, and D shape, there's always going to be a very close, one that's very close by in one of the other shapes in a certain area of the neck. So if I was going from G to C, for example, if I use the G and the E shape at the 3rd fret, chord 4 of this, C, would be at the same spot in the A shape. And then chord 5 would be 1 fret lower in the D shape. So E shape at 3, A shape at 3, D shape 1 fret lower at 2 gives you 1, 4, and 5 in those. And that also then, wait, where's my G scale? There we go. I was saying the too many different keys at the same time. So those triad shapes, again, are really just ways of outlining chords, meaning playing the notes of a chord and knowing what notes are going to be harmonic, knowing that also the notes in the other chords are going to be non-harmonic right then. So, but they're part of the key. So a good little project would be practice going from 1 to 4 to 5 in starting on any shape, knowing that if you use the A shape as 1, the D shape at the same as the 2nd fret higher, and the E shape at the same fret will give you 1, 4, and 5. And the question that also people were asking was how these are, that it seems like once you put all those notes together, you have something similar to the pentatonic scale. You don't. What you really have is something similar to the major scale, depending on which set of chords you're using, because the pentatonic only has those 5 notes in it. So I've probably thoroughly confused the issue here. Maybe we should go back to the earworms thread and see, which was an interesting thread to see what was running through people's heads. And what was running through my head at the time was this, which is what I just played. Anyway, been having fun listening to some catchy tunes lately. I'm sure most of you recognize that. Well, most of you like my age, at least. Okay, I think, let me check my notes. Nothing else I have to get to right now. Okay, back to work. Got to get on to some lessons today and have something ready for you next week. We'll see you next week, the end of September.